Hi, this is TheHande Mäkinen, and in this video I decided that I wanted to talk a little bit about certain types of videos that I used to do on this channel and which I don't really do anymore, and the reasons why I don't do them anymore. So this is already a bit of a warning that this might be a bit of a depressing video for some of you, but I decided that this is something that I've been wondering about, whether or not I should address the reasons why certain types of videos are no longer really appearing on my channel. And I decided, this is something that I've never really stopped to talk about, so might as well discuss it a little bit. Now, a little history lesson for those of you who maybe haven't been following this channel for very long. I've been making YouTube videos since 2006, and my original channel operated between 2006 and 2009, which you might have guessed from the fact that this channel has only been around since 2009, and the reason why I had to create this channel was because my original YouTube channel got iced by YouTube long ago. I still do not to this day know the full reason for why, but I have some educated guesses. But anyway, as you can probably guess from the name of the channel, when I started doing YouTube originally, I was making primarily cartoons. And then during the second year, I also started making top 10s and the occasional vlogs. People might remember I had something called TheHande webcam show, which I basically did because honestly, I just didn't consider myself a vlogger at that point. It's something that I felt really artificial and weird to me, which is kind of strange considering that that's kind of like what my primary videos are like these days. But the point is that over time, the channel kind of just morphed into being about whatever the heck I felt like making videos about. I eventually kind of toned down the importance of the cartoons on the channel. I still occasionally make them, obviously, mostly thanks to Ken from Aqualon Game Reviews, because we occasionally will do teaser cartoons for his channel, and then sometimes, once in a blue moon, I will also make an original animation. But that's not really what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about the other types of videos that I used to make in the past and why nowadays I just don't really do them anymore. Now, I've actually been very recently reached out about this, and this is the first one that I really want to talk about, which is why I don't really do top 10 and bottom 10 videos anymore. And these are actually two different reasons for both types of videos. Now, first of all, the top 10s. Originally, I started making those top 10s talking about my favorite movies of a specific genre or type of movies and stuff like that. Long ago, this was a very popular format on YouTube. I was certainly not the only one making these kinds of videos. And originally I did enjoy making those kinds of videos because there was this idea that I had where once in a while I would actually redo those top 10s, and because I thought it would be fun to see how my opinions on certain types of films and stuff would change from year to year, so it'd be fun to always occasionally just revisit a top 10 and make a new version of it. But the problem with that kind of format, eventually it just turned out that my tastes just don't change that much from year to year. And eventually I just also didn't like making a video where I was just talking about the more or less the same 10 entries or maybe 8 and then only just have a couple of new ones and the rest would be just kind of shuffled around. To me, that was just not good YouTube content, and basically that's always been my primary goal with this channel. The channel's not monetized, I don't make any money off of it. So this is purely for hobby reasons, and because of that I have kind of lived by this rule that I would not make content that I myself would not watch, which is also why certain types of videos I've ended up taking down over time because I was so unhappy with them and I don't really like looking at them anymore. And yeah, eventually I just kind of started running out of ideas for new top 10s or top 5s or whatever, because I was so fixated on always having 10 entries of whatever, or if not 10, then at least 5. I found the idea of just doing like a top 6 or a top 7 or a top 8 kind of yucky, even though, the numbers are completely arbitrary, it shouldn't matter that much. Also, I maybe took the top 10 making a little too seriously back in the day. One of the reasons I don't really like watching some of my really old top 10s is that I always sound very defensive in those. And over time, I kind of just learned to, they're just opinions. They're my opinions. If I make a top 10 of something, I should just talk about the stuff that I like, and, I don't have to worry about anything else. Now, the top 10s sort of got phased out of the channel gradually, but they have sort of made a return in the form of the ranking videos. And of course, and again, I really need to thank Aquilon for this. When he started doing the Ranking the Soundtrack series, I really like the format that he established with that one, and so I decided to give it a shot a couple of times myself. And now I've actually done quite a few of those Ranking the Soundtrack videos, and I kind of sort of stretch that over to other types of ranking videos over time as well. So, what about the bottom 10s? Now, this one I'm going to say I never really did that many bottom 10s to begin with. And the reason for that is that people might have noticed that I just don't naturally hate on things very well. In fact, I've noticed that over time, even stuff that I used to dislike, I tend to just find more positives than negatives in them because, frankly, I don't really like living my life just thinking about stuff that just pisses me off. So I just try to find the silver lining in whatever and, just chill with that. It really always took me to having like 3 to 5 like solid entries that I really genuinely disliked to actually go make a bottom 10. But then there was also the other thing, which is that, like I said, I don't like making content that I wouldn't watch myself. And the reality is I don't really like watching bottom 10 stuff. I just generally don't like watching videos where people bitch and moan about stuff. And also because this is something that has happened to me as well. If, for instance, some kind of a bottom 10 video or whatever happens to feature something that I actually like, I've had in the past a tendency of just completely disengaging with the video altogether. And I realized, well, that might end up happening to somebody else. And I don't want to be the guy who like ruins somebody's day by saying something nasty about something that they might enjoy. So that eventually kind of built itself into a bit of an unofficial rule with the bottom 10s, which is where I try to always work in a joke or something to, take off some of the edge, so when I was saying something negative, it wouldn't come off like that harsh. But yeah, like I said, phasing out the bottom 10s was actually pretty easy for me because I never really did too many of them. The last big one that I did was the bottom 10 adventure games video, and I only really went through the trouble of making that because it was something that I've been thinking about for years, and I felt that I should finally do it because I had a top 10 of my favorite adventure games. And although I had made a bottom 5 earlier, it always kind of bothered me that it was a top 10 and a bottom 5 and not a top 10 and a bottom 10. Okay, so next on the docket, another type of video that has also disappeared from the channel, and this one also kind of happened a bit gradually, are all the movie reviews. Now, there are a few of these that I kind of look back on and think about that it's a bit sad that I had to take these down, but I think people probably can understand why the movie reviews eventually went down. The reason was the way I used to make those movie reviews, which is that I would do a voiceover with video of the actual movie while I was talking about it. And these movie review videos were something that I put a lot of time and effort into. I put a lot of effort into making jokes. I made a lot of effort to try to condense my opinions into a watchable video. And then I spent a lot of time just video capturing the scenes that I was talking about, trying to make a coherent video out of that. But as you could probably guess, with those kinds of videos, you are always flirting with danger because obviously the footage from those movies is copyrighted material. I have had no illusions about this. Like, I know I'm using somebody else's copyrighted material when I'm making those kinds of reviews of movies and stuff. And I've always known that sometimes you're just gonna run out of luck and probably gonna have to take down the video or at least edit it somewhat aggressively. The videos that I kind of miss most are the video game movie reviews. That was kind of like the little niche that I used to inhabit. Mostly because I was one of the few people who was willing to say anything nice about video game movies. But luckily these days, video game movies have a much better reputation than they used to, so in a way, those videos aren't really necessary anymore. But that did present another problem for me, which is all the other big movie series and things that I used to make. Like, I used to have an entire series of videos on the Terminator movies. I had a video on Indiana Jones. I had a video about the Dirty Harry films, which was actually quite popular for a while. But the problem was always content IDs. Note, not copyright strikes, but the content IDs were already a problem because it effectively made it so that those videos could get geo-blocked in a number of countries, which meant that people wouldn't be able to watch them, which is something that just kept bothering me. So eventually, I just kind of started taking out movie reviews, and other movie-related videos, which kept getting content ID'd. And also, eventually, I just kind of came to the conclusion that my reviews, like, they didn't really add anything to the pile. Like, yeah, the joke edits and things like that, those are fun, and, I do miss some of the videos because of that. But ultimately, there are so many people reviewing movies on YouTube anyway. I never had like a gimmick or anything special that I felt like I was adding to the conversation. So ultimately, for me, taking down the movie review videos was kind of a painless transition. Now, I have done a couple of movie review videos, and people might remember this, where I did it this way, just talking to the camera and using screenshots to illustrate the things that I was talking about. But that's not really the way I wanted to do the movie reviews in the first place. And eventually, I kind of just moved away from that as well. There are still a few videos that you will find on this channel where I discuss certain movies, where you see screenshots and stuff. But those were kind of like, this is the only way I can make this kind of video situations. It's a means to an end, and that's why the movie reviews have basically just kind of, are gone. And lastly, and this one honestly is something that really, really bothers me. This was a series that I was honestly very proud of, and now it is just completely off limits. Now, I used to have a video series on this channel called the B&W Reviews. B standing in for best, and W standing in for worst. And the B&W Reviews was a series that was the end product of a way that I was trying to consider how I could make videos about some of my favorite cartoon series, animes, and television shows, like live-action television shows. Primarily, I kind of wanted to get to the core of me wanting to talk about what was my favorite episode of a particular series and what was my least favorite episode of a particular series, and without having to do like a top 10, bottom 10 situation. So eventually, I kind of came to the conclusion of, you know what, let's just make a series where I indeed just review the best and the worst episode of a series, and then, make a little general introduction where it doesn't matter what footage I use from the series. I can just use it as a basic illustration point. And these videos were probably some of my favorite things that I have ever edited together. They were really, really good videos. I was genuinely very proud of them. A few of them had obvious challenges. For instance, in the Star Trek video, I had to use still images, and this is related to the fact that Paramount doesn't want anybody using Star Trek footage for any reason ever. I had an entire series of Trek trivia videos that I had to take down like at one point. But the B&W reviews, they were great. They allowed me to do all the stuff that I was doing in the movie reviews, but it was kind of just fun to give kind of a general feel, and it also got me into rewatching some of my old favorite series as well, which is another reason I like. I even did one kind of bonus video in this series where I was talking about my least favorite episode of Tenchi Muyo, and the reason I did that as a standalone video was because I already had a top 10 of my favorite Tenchi Muyo episodes. But then in late 2021, my channel got its very first ever copyright strike. And it was on one of the B&W videos. Now, I always knew that they would be a bit of a risky video series, just like the movie reviews had been, but I had kept them around at that point just because I was still so proud of what I've been doing with those videos. But the thing is, once I found out which video it was that got me the copyright strike, that was the point at which I kind of decided, okay, I'm done playing around. Like, I wouldn't have been too shocked if it had been like the Captain N video, or the Donkey Kong Country video, or the Love Hina video, but no, it was the fucking Silver Fang video. Toei decided to screw me in the ass on a fucking anime from 1986. And that really burned me badly, because this was kind of like the crown jewel of the entire B&W series. And now granted, B&W had been offline for a long while after that, but I had always wondered, like, maybe one day I would come back to it. But this was kind of like the final nail. This was like the safest of all safe series that I thought I could make a B&W out of, because I figured nobody's gonna care that I use footage from this. It was one of my best editing jobs, and I genuinely just really liked making that one, because that's one of my favorite anime series. But nope, now the copyright strike happened. I had the sort of a warning period during which I wasn't allowed to get another copyright strike. And at that point, I decided, well, shit. I guess that's the end of the B&Ws for good. I just ended up taking all of them down. And I think this was also around the time when I took down some of the few remaining lingering movie reviews. But yeah, that was a rough one. So that's why you will probably never see anything like the B&W reviews on this channel ever again, because I just genuinely don't feel like taking that kind of risk. So, because of that, you have probably guessed that I have kind of moved more towards the vlogging style of videos. I still make the occasional He-Man episode reviews, though you might have noticed that I don't make them as much anymore, because I'm honestly kind of running out of juice on which episodes actually I want to review. Because, you know, you can't just force a review, it just has to, there has to be like a reason for it. And the only thing that so far hasn't burned me like too badly has actually been just retro video game content, which, you know, I like doing. So anyway, that was this video. I hope you don't feel too depressed after that. I still like making YouTube videos. This is a fun hobby after all. But people need to understand that, you know, I have to work within the constraints of the channel rules and things like that. I don't ever complain about it, because I realize, like, you know, them's the rules. You gotta live by them, and, you know, if you break them, then there's gonna be consequences, and worst case scenario, your channel might get taken down. So that's the main thing that I want to just stress here, is that I like making YouTube videos, and I don't mind trying my hand at different types of weird videos, and, you know, I don't even mind sometimes just trying out other people's video styles. Like, I've copied Aqualung a couple of times already, but I just find making this kind of content mostly enjoyable so far. And as long as it's still fun, you know, I'll just keep making videos. They might not be very consistent videos, of course, but, you know, I'll just, you know, do whatever. Anyway, that was this video. I'm Hannu the Hande Mäkinen. See you on the next one.